Story number 1. The mistake that shattered my world.
10 years ago, I met Lily in a bustling coffee shop, her laughter cutting through the noise like a melody. Her hazel eyes sparkled with curiosity, and her warmth drew me in. We spent 2 years dating, lazy Sundays hiking through pine-scented forests, midnight conversations about our dreams, and quiet moments where just being together felt like enough. We married in a small ceremony, promising forever. For 8 years, our life was a beautiful tapestry, cooking dinners side by side, planning for kids, and building a home filled with love. But I tore it apart with one unforgivable mistake. It was a late night at the gym. I'd been stressed, distracted, and a woman I barely knew struck up a conversation. A few drinks later, I made a choice I'll regret forever. A fleeting, meaningless fling. I swore it was a one-time lapse, something I'd bury deep. But Lily found out. I still don't know how. Maybe a careless text, a receipt I forgot to toss. That afternoon I came home to a house that felt hollow, the air heavy with absence. Her clothes were gone from the closet, her books missing from the shelves. On the kitchen table, beneath a stack of divorce papers, was a note in her elegant script. This is what cheaters get. My heart stopped. I called her phone dozens of times, but it didn't ring. Panic set in. I contacted her lawyer, a cold voice on the line who said Lily wanted no contact. "Get your own lawyer," he advised. I begged, shouted, but it was futile. 10 years, 2 dating, 8 married, couldn't end like this. I refused to sign the papers, clinging to the hope I could win her back, make her see the man she'd loved. I suggested couples therapy, but her lawyer said she declined. The divorce finalized a year ago despite my resistance. It felt like a piece of my soul was carved out, leaving a wound that wouldn't heal. The pain consumed me. I drank too much, whiskey, skipped meals, and barely slept. My friends watched me unravel, a shadow of myself. "You need help," my sister said, her voice soft but firm. I started therapy, but it was hard. My therapist explained that without closure, my mind couldn't accept the end. You're left imagining they'll walk through the door, that it's all a dream. But Lily was gone, and I was drowning in guilt, replaying that night over and over. A few nights ago, I was at my place with my friend Rich, beers in hand, the room hazy with our laughter. I started talking about Lily, my voice cracking. Rich, a bit drunk, snapped, "Dude, you gotta let her go. She's moved on, living in Norway, married, 7 months pregnant." His words hit like a freight train. Norway? Married? Pregnant? I pressed him, tears streaming down my face. "Tell me everything," I pleaded. Reluctantly, he admitted his wife, Saskia, had stayed in touch with Lily. They were close friends, and Saskia had known for a year, but never told me, watching me spiral in silence. The revelation shattered me. Lily, my Lily, was building a new life across the ocean. We'd tried for kids for years, and I'd secretly wondered if she was infertile. Now she was carrying another man's child. My mind raced with theories. Maybe she married for a visa, or it was a rebound. I couldn't accept that she loved this guy. I needed to know more, to understand how she could move on while I was stuck in grief. Desperate, I turned into a digital sleuth. Using a fake Instagram account, I followed her relatives, hoping for a clue. Nothing. Then I stumbled on a Norwegian woman's Facebook profile, an older lady with a rare last name linked to one of Lily's cousins. Her page was open, filled with photos of snowy mountains, blooming gardens, and family gatherings. And there, in a post from a year ago, was Lily. Radiant in a white dress, her smile wide, hugging a tall blonde man. The caption, translated from Norwegian, read, "Congratulations to my son and his beautiful bride." Lily had married this guy 9 months after leaving me. How could she move on so fast? Another photo from February 2023 showed her with the same man, his arm around her, laughing at a family event. She left in May 2022, 9 months to a new love. It felt like betrayal, though I had no right to feel that way. I found his profile, an engineer, 38, with long hair, and a love for metal band t-shirts, just like Lily's taste in music. He wasn't a chiseled model, just a regular guy, maybe a bit stocky. It stung that she chose him, someone so different yet eerily similar. To me in profession, why him? When did they meet? The questions gnawed at my soul. I fantasized about flying to Norway, knocking on her door, begging for answers, but I didn't know her city, her address, or how to reach her. Her family had blocked me, her social media erased. I was a man adrift, clinging to a love that no longer existed. My therapist urged me to let go, to focus on healing, but how do you forget the love of your life? Every night I dreamed of her laugh, her touch, and woke to the ache of her absence. Update. My post caused a storm. Saskia's sister recognized the story and told her. Saskia was furious at Rich for spilling, and Rich blamed me for sharing online. I cut them off. They knew about Lily's new life and let me suffer in silence for 2 years. I kept searching, finding more photos confirming her marriage. The reality hurts, but I've decided not to chase her to Norway. It's tempting, but I know it's futile. Therapy is my anchor now, helping me process the guilt and grief. I'm trying to rebuild, though it's slow. If Lily ever hears this, I want her to know I'm sorry and I'll always love her. For now, I'm learning to live with the pieces of my broken heart.
Story number 2. The wedding dress that divided a family.
24 years ago, I stood at the altar in a simple, elegant wedding dress, its ivory silk flowing like a whisper. I chose it carefully, not for the trends of the time, but for its timeless beauty, dreaming of passing it to a daughter one day. A year later, my son, Mark, was born, a bright-eyed boy who became my world after his father passed away. I raised him alone, pouring love into every moment. When I met Robert years later, I gained a stepdaughter, Molly, and hoped to build a bond with her to share that dress and its legacy. Molly was 12 when I married Robert, a guarded girl with a sharp tongue. I tried to reach her, cooking her favorite lasagna, offering to take her shopping or get her nails done. But she kept me at a distance, calling me a trophy wife behind my back and rolling her eyes at my lack of a college degree. "You're just Dad's arm candy," she'd say, her words cutting deep. Still, I persisted, keeping my door open, hoping she'd warm to me. 2 years ago, I invited Molly to my closet, where the dress hung like a piece of history. "This was mine," I said, my voice soft with emotion. "I'd love for you to wear it at your wedding someday." I explained we'd need alterations. I'm 5'9" and a size 4, while Molly's 5'4" and a size 8. But we could make it work. She scoffed, her eyes cold. "That's so outdated and honestly, kind of trashy." She walked out, leaving me stunned. The dress meant everything to me, a symbol of love and legacy, and she dismissed it without a thought. Her rejection hurt, and I pulled back, focusing on my relationship with Mark and Robert. Then, 2 months ago, Mark proposed to his college sweetheart, Lucy, a kind, vibrant woman who felt like the daughter I'd always wanted. When Lucy mentioned dress shopping, I showed her mine. "Oh, it's gorgeous," she gasped, trying it on. It fit like it was made for her, hugging her frame perfectly. Tears welled in her eyes as I said, "It's yours, Lucy. The dress, the shoes, the veil, everything." We hugged, a moment of pure connection. A few days ago, Molly called out of the blue. "Is the dress still available?" she asked, her tone casual. I was taken aback. "I gave it to Lucy," I said. "You said you didn't want it, and she's getting married soon." Molly's voice sharpened. "You offered it to me first. Can't you get it back? You're favoring Lucy because she's thin and fits your traditional ideals." Her accusation stung. I didn't see it that way. Lucy cherished the dress, and Molly had scorned it. But I wondered, if Lucy had rejected it, would I have given it to Molly? Was I playing favorites? I lay awake that night, replaying Molly's words. I'd tried so hard to love her, to include her, but she'd pushed me away. Lucy's joy in the dress felt like a gift, a chance to pass on something meaningful. Yet Molly's hurt lingered in my mind. I wanted to be fair, to mend things with her, but the dress was Lucy's now. How could I navigate this without tearing our family apart? Update. The support I found online was a lifeline, reassuring me I'd made the right choice. I've given the dress to Lucy, who's keeping it safe at her apartment. Molly tried pressuring her, but Lucy stood firm. Robert, Molly's father, was adamant. "Don't give it to her," he said, his voice full of support. "Mark's away on business, but I know he'd back Lucy too. I've realized Molly's had a tough life. Her biological mother's absence left scars, and she may be projecting that onto me. But a relationship takes two, and she needs to meet me halfway. I'll never shut her out, but the dress is Lucy's." I'm grateful for the clarity and excited for Lucy's wedding, where the dress will shine again.
Story number 3. The wedding invite that never arrived.
Jordan and I have been brothers in all but blood since we were kids, building forts in our backyards and sharing secrets through college. 4 years ago, he met Amelia, a sharp, ambitious woman who seemed perfect for him. She was always polite to me, but there was a coolness in her smile, like she was sizing me up. I brushed it off. Jordan was happy, and that's what mattered. When they got engaged and moved across the country for Amelia's promotion, I was thrilled for them. A save-the-date card arrived in January 2023, and Jordan's hints about the wedding party had me assuming I'd be a groomsman, maybe even best man. As the wedding date, September 2023, neared, I noticed friends posting their invitations online. Mine never came. I figured it was lost in the mail, so I waited. Weeks passed, and nothing. 2 months before the big day, I called Jordan. "Hey man, just checking on the wedding," I said, trying to sound casual. His voice was tense. "I'm swamped, dude. Talk to Amelia about details. I'll call you soon." I texted and emailed Amelia, leaving voicemails when she didn't respond. Days turned into a week, and I got nothing. Confused, I assumed I wasn't invited. Had I done something wrong? Then 3 weeks later, Jordan messaged me. "You free to chat?" he asked. I jumped at the chance. On the call, he said, "I know you're slammed with work and personal stuff, but I'd love for you to come to the wedding, even just as a guest. Anything I can do to make it happen?" I blinked, stunned. "Jordan, I'd love to, but I never..." got an invitation. That's why I called you weeks ago. I reached out to Amelia, but she ghosted me." His face froze. "What?" he said, his voice low. I spilled everything, her silence, my confusion. After a long pause, he said, "I gotta sort this out, I'll call you." He hung up abruptly. Soon my phone lit up with texts from mutual friends. What happened? Is the wedding off? Apparently, Jordan's call with his mum had been overheard by her church friends, and gossip spread like wildfire. Some blamed me for stirring drama, saying I should have kept quiet. My girlfriend Alice insisted I did nothing wrong, but doubt crept in. Had I overstepped? Was I about to ruin my best friend's wedding? The days that followed were tense. I replayed every interaction with Amelia, wondering why she'd iced me out. Jordan and I had been through everything together: heartbreaks, job losses, late-night gaming marathons. Losing him would gut me. I needed answers, but more than that, I needed to know our friendship would survive this mess. Update: Jordan and I talked after a few days. He explained Amelia was overwhelmed by an unexpected pregnancy, which threw wedding plans into chaos and triggered his OCD. She claimed she sent my invite to my old address. I'd moved in March and missed my messages. Amid work stress, they thought I was too busy for the wedding party. The wedding's on, and I'm best man with travel costs covered. I'm skeptical of Amelia's story. It feels too neat, but I'm thrilled to stand by Jordan. Months later, the wedding was a chaotic but beautiful affair. I worked hard, smoothing tensions. I suspect Amelia's parents pushed for her brother as best man, and she juggled lies to avoid conflict, exploiting Jordan's stress. Her dislike of me might stem from my swearing or our political differences. She's far left, and I'm not enough for her. Post-wedding, they welcomed a daughter, Iris. Alice and I are godparents, and they're in counseling. Amelia's warming up, sending baby photos. Our friendship's stronger than ever, and I'm grateful for the journey.
Story number 4. The ultimatum that tested our marriage.
Jack and I fell in love 4 years ago, a whirlwind romance that led to marriage and 2 beautiful kids, a 3-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son. But I've been pregnant or breastfeeding for most of our relationship, my body no longer my own. Despite using birth control meticulously, patch, condoms, pill, I'm pregnant again, this time with twins. In our state, abortion isn't an option, and the news hit us hard. We love parenting, but 4 kids under 5 is daunting, especially with our tight finances. I'm the primary caretaker, and the thought of twins overwhelms me. I sat Jack down one evening, my voice trembling. "I'm done with pregnancy, Jack. It's exhausting, and I don't recognize myself anymore." I suggested a vasectomy, quick, effective, and safer than a tubal ligation. He bristled, his face darkening. "Why don't you get your tubes tied?" he shot back. I explained the surgery's risks and long recovery, how I couldn't be sidelined with 4 young kids. He scoffed, saying, "Your body, your choice, that's on you." His words were a knife, echoing my abusive ex, Tom, who attacked me after. I terminated a pregnancy at 19. Jack knew my PTSD, my scars, my pro-choice stance. How could he weaponize that? Our discussion turned into a screaming match. "You failed at birth control, and now we're stuck with twins," he yelled. I fired back. "You're not helping either." Then he said something that broke me. Maybe I'll want kids with someone who doesn't compare me to her felon ex. I froze, horrified. Was he already imagining a life without me? Tears streaming, I packed bags for me and the kids and drove to my parents' house. An hour. Oh wait, it's been a week? Jax called, apologizing, blaming stress over the twins. He wants us back, saying we both said hurtful things. But his words linger, reopening old wounds. I suggested a separation agreement to manage custody and finances, but he resisted, saying we don't need courts. My family's divided. My sister and best friend say to leave him, but my brother thinks it's just a bad fight. My mom warns against single motherhood, while my dad makes unhelpful jokes about my fertility. I'm 4 months pregnant, uncomfortable and torn. I want our happy family back, but can I trust Jack again? Is a vasectomy too much to ask? Update Jack and I started counseling. I admitted comparing him to Tom was wrong, but his weaponizing, my trauma was unforgivable. He's remorseful, explaining he lashed out in hurt. I'm pursuing separation for space, staying with my supportive parents. I told Jack I need counseling and a vasectomy to consider staying married. But I can't. Promise anything. We're preparing for the twins, working on trust. Months later, Jack got a vasectomy of his own accord, not to win me back. We've reconciled, continuing therapy. His regret seems genuine, and we've addressed deeper issues. Now, we face a new challenge. Deciding whether to stay in a state with restrictive laws, especially with daughters to raise. My family's recent experiences highlight the risks. We're together, but the future's uncertain. I'm grateful for the support and hopeful for what's ahead.
Story number 5. The party that wasn't what it seemed.
Kathy's dinner party invite was a rare treat, an adults-only evening. A chance to escape the chaos of parenting and reconnect with friends. As a mom to a 5-year-old, I rarely hire a babysitter, but this was worth the splurge. I imagined sipping wine, laughing over stories, and enjoying uninterrupted conversation. But when I arrived at Kathy's elegant home, the scene was jarring. Her 2 young kids, Emma and Liam, were there, surrounded by board games and craft stations. We're all going to have so much fun, Kathy beamed, handing me a stack of Uno cards. I exchanged glances with other guests, their faces mirroring my confusion. We'd all paid for sitters, expecting a grown-up night. Instead, Kathy guided us through kid-centric activities, playing hide and seek, admiring Emma's glittery paintings, and singing Wheels on the Bus with Liam. The kids were adorable, but I barely spoke to my friends. The evening felt like a babysitting gig, not a party. By 9 p.m., guests started slipping out, muttering excuses. Kathy looked hurt, mentioning the expensive catering, but I could sense the frustration in the air. This wasn't the first time. A month earlier, Kathy had hosted another adults-only party with the same setup. We assumed her childcare had fallen through, so we didn't question it. But this second event was deliberate. As I drove home, I felt cheated. I'd spent $50 on a sitter for a night of entertaining someone else's kids. My friend Sarah texted me later. Did we just pay to babysit Kathy's kids? Others whispered similar complaints, some vowing to skip her next invite. I loved Kathy. She was kind, generous, always sending thoughtful gifts. But this felt disrespectful. I lay awake that night, wondering how to address it. Kathy adored her kids, and I did too, but I wanted my daughter to play with them, not be excluded. Was this normal in other circles? How could I tell Kathy without hurting her, or seeming like I disliked Emma and Liam? I imagined saying, Kathy, we love your kids, but we expected an adult night. Would she take it the wrong way? I didn't want to lose her friendship, but I couldn't ignore the growing tension among our group. Kathy's perspective was a mystery. She was wealthy, an only child raised in privilege, and sometimes seemed oblivious to others' realities. Did she think we all had family to watch our kids for free? Did she assume we loved her kids so much we'd happily center our night around them? I remembered her once saying, "Emma and Liam see you all as family." Maybe that was her goal, to build bonds for her kids, but excluding ours felt unfair and the deception stung. I needed a way to talk to her, to preserve our friendship while setting boundaries. Update. After the kids went back to school, another friend, Sarah, confronted Kathy, who was confused by the backlash. In a heartfelt talk, Kathy explained her reasoning. As an only child with no living parents and married to another only child, she worried about her kids' future without family. "I want Emma and Liam to have you all as their aunts and uncles," she said, tears in her eyes. She thought excluding our kids would let us bond with hers, assuming we sent ours to relatives, not paid sitters. Her wealth blinded her to our realities. I explained that true family includes everyone's kids, like my sister welcoming my daughter. "If you want bonds, love our kids too," I said. Kathy sobbed, admitting her fear of dying young like her mom and leaving her. "Kids alone. She's in therapy for this, working on empathy." She promised to change, planning a kid-friendly event next. We hugged, our friendship intact. I'm glad we talked privately. Her vulnerability deserved that. Thanks to the advice, I feel hopeful for our group's future.
Story number 6. The proposal that broke us.
For 6 years, Ethan was my safe haven. His warm smile and steady presence made every day brighter. We'd curl up on the couch, watching old movies, or take long walks through the park, dreaming of our future. He wasn't just my partner. He made me healthier, happier, a better version of myself. 2 years ago, we had the big talk about marriage. I was honest. I'd seen too many women abandoned by partners who wouldn't commit, left to raise kids alone or rebuild after years of shared finances. "I don't need a ring," I told him, "but I won't have kids or merge our money without one." Ethan nodded, his brow furrowed. "I've never seen a marriage work," he said. "Everyone I know ended in divorce or tragedy." I promised to stay either way as long as we were clear. Months later, he proposed under a starlit sky, a simple ring in his trembling hands. "I want forever with you," he said. I cried, saying yes, imagining our wedding, a small ceremony, my sister's. Baby is our only young guest, a celebration of us. But the moment that ring slid onto my finger, Ethan changed. The man who'd been my rock became a stranger, and our dream began to crumble. He refused to help with wedding plans, dodging talks about venues or guest lists. When I made decisions, like booking a photographer, he'd snap, "Stop being a bridezilla." His hypocrisy stung. He invited our friend Mike and his 4 kids to bring them, ignoring our no kids rule except for my 3-month-old niece. "It's fine," he said dismissively when I protested. At home, he grew cold. If I hadn't cleaned his dishes or folded his laundry, he'd give me the silent treatment. I worked from home, juggling a demanding job, but some days I'd work until 9 p.m. One night he stormed in, furious about a messy kitchen. "I've been working 12 hours, I shouted. He glared, saying, "So, that's your job." His anger escalated. 4 times he threatened to kick me out and cancel the engagement. Maybe I'm dodging a bullet, he'd say, his words slicing. Through me. He stopped initiating intimacy, and I began to dread the sound of his key in the lock. Every moment was a critique, my cooking, my work, my planning. My mother, who'd adored him, refused to sign our marriage certificate. "He's not the man I thought," she said, her voice heavy. I suggested pausing the wedding, going back to being boyfriend and girlfriend. "No," Ethan insisted. "I want to marry you. I'm just making sure you're the right one." His words chilled me. Was I the wrong one? I lay awake at night, questioning everything. The Ethan I loved was gone, replaced by someone who saw me as a problem. I wanted our old life back, the laughter, the trust. But this version of him scared me. Had the proposal triggered something? Was he sabotaging us out of fear? I loved him, but I couldn't marry this man. The decision broke my heart, but I knew what I had to do. Update: I left Ethan, moving to my parents' chaotic house in London. Canceling the wedding a month out was costly. Vendors kept most payments, draining my savings. I'm grieving the life we built, the future I envisioned. Telling his niece and nephew I wouldn't see them again was gut-wrenching. They clung to me, sobbing. I dream of motherhood, but it feels distant, and dating again terrifies me. Ethan's reached out, promising change and counseling, but he hasn't said sorry. We're splitting expenses, but our cat's custody is unresolved. I can't house her yet. Therapy's helping me prioritize self-love, though I miss him deeply. It's not the ending I wanted, but I'm finding strength to move forward. Thanks for the support. It's carried me through.
Story number 7, Inheritance Dispute with Sister.
I'm a 28-year-old man, still reeling from the loss of my father. His death wasn't sudden, he'd been sick for years, and I was there for him, day in and day out, managing his medical appointments, cooking meals, and just keeping him company. It was exhausting, but I loved him, and I wanted his final days to be as comfortable as possible. My sister, 25, wasn't part of that picture. She distanced herself from Dad after our parents' divorce when she was 9. She blamed him for the split, siding with Mom, and over time, their relationship crumbled. Dad tried to reach out, calls, letters, even showing up at her high school graduation, but she shut him down every time. By the time he got sick, they hadn't spoken in years. When Dad passed, his will was clear. I inherited the bulk of his estate, his house, savings, and most of his assets. My sister got sentimental items like family photos and some jewelry, plus a small cash sum. It wasn't a fortune, but it wasn't nothing. I thought it was fair, given I'd been there for him. But when the will was read, my sister lost it. She called me selfish, accused me of manipulating Dad, and demanded we split everything 50-50. "Family is family," she said, as if she hadn't ignored him for a decade. Mom, who's been divorced from Dad for years, backed her up, saying I should do the right thing to keep the peace. Some friends agreed, saying I should share to avoid drama, but others thought I was right to honor Dad's wishes. The situation hit me hard. I started second-guessing myself. Was I being greedy? Was I punishing my sister for her choices? I dug into the details to make sense of it. The divorce was messy. Dad worked long hours at his business and Mom felt neglected. She'd tell my sister Dad cared more about work than family, which shaped her resentment. By the time she was 18, she'd moved out and cut contact. I stayed with Dad not because I was perfect, but because I couldn't abandon him. When he got sick, I tried to get her to visit, but she said she wasn't ready. Dad never forced her, just said she'd come around when she was ready. She never did. Now she's texting me daily, calling me names, saying I stole her share. Mum's guilt-tripping me, saying I'm tearing the family apart. It's like they've forgotten Dad's pain, how he'd wait for her calls that never came. I keep thinking about his will. He didn't cut her out. He left her things that mattered to him, like Mum's old necklace. I think he was acknowledging our roles in his life, not playing favorites. But the pressure's intense. Part of me wants to give in just to stop the fighting, but another part knows Dad made his choice for a reason. I posted about this online, and the responses were mixed. Some called me a jerk for not sharing, saying family should come first. Others said I was right to respect Dad's wishes, pointing out my sister had years to mend things. One commenter hit hard. She wasn't there when Dad needed her, but now she wants his money. That's not family. It stuck with me. I decided to stand firm. 2 weeks later, I told my sister I wouldn't change the will. She went ballistic, sending nasty texts, saying I'm just like Dad, stubborn and selfish. Mum's no better, saying I'm destroying the family. But I'm done. I'm keeping what Dad gave me, honoring his memory. And if that means cutting them off, so be it. Looking back, I wonder if I could have handled it better. Maybe I could have offered her something small to ease the tension. But every time I think of Dad's face, waiting for her to show up, I know I'm doing what's right. I'm focusing on moving forward, using the inheritance to build a life he'd be proud of. Maybe one day my sister will understand, but for now, I'm standing my ground.
Story number 8, Boyfriend's False Memory.
I'm 27, and my relationship with Tom, my 29-year-old boyfriend, has been a whirlwind. We dated 3 years ago in college, but life pulled us apart. I got a dream job in Silicon Valley, while Tom stayed home to care for his younger siblings after his mom's death. Long distance didn't work, so we split. Last year, I moved back, burned out from a failed engagement and worried about my dad's health. Tom and I reconnected, and 6 months ago, we started dating again. Things were perfect, or so I thought. 2 weeks ago, we were planning to redecorate his place, now that his youngest sibling had moved out for college. Out of nowhere, Tom mentioned paintings we'd done together in an art class. I froze. I have no memory of this class. I laughed it off, thinking he was joking, but he insisted, describing it vividly, Wednesday evenings after a 6 p.m. class, buying supplies at a local store, painting a pink donut from a gum commercial. It was so detailed, I started doubting myself. Had I forgotten something so significant? We argued. I denied it, but Tom wouldn't drop it. He spent hours scouring his old phone, Facebook, and computer for proof, nothing. He looked hurt, confused, like I was gaslighting him. I begged him to let it go, but it ate at me. My ex-fiancée used to lie about events to mess with my head, and this felt eerily similar. Was Tom doing the same? I spent days combing my records, no bank transactions for art supplies, no mention of the class. I even asked old college friends, no one remembered it. The more I dug, the weirder it got. Last Wednesday, we went to Tom's storage unit to grab some stuff. He turned it into a hunt for the paintings, swearing he'd stored them there. We found nothing, no pink donut, no art matching his descriptions. He doubled down, recalling how we'd grab food before class, but I don't remember that either. I was annoyed, and we had a huge fight driving home. I told him he was wrong, that this was tearing us apart. That night, I broke down, saying I couldn't do this if he kept insisting on a false memory. The next day was tense, with Tom refusing to back down. I started wondering if this was a mental health issue. It was the first time I'd seen him act like this, and it scared me. I posted online, and commenters suggested it might be a false memory or confabulation, where the brain fills in gaps with fabricated details. Someone mentioned the Mandela effect, but this was personal, not collective. It made sense. Maybe Tom was confusing me with someone else or inserting me into a happy memory. But his certainty was unnerving. He even remembered the professor from the 6 p.m. class, which I know happened, but nothing about the art class afterward. A week later, I took the advice to talk it out. I sat Tom down, explaining why this upset me, especially given my ex's gaslighting. He apologized, saying he must have been wrong, and we agreed to move on. Then, the mystery unraveled. We visited his sister, and the topic came up. She laughed, saying she took the art class with Tom at a local craft store, not the college. She showed us photos of their paintings, including the pink donut. Tom was stunned, apologizing profusely. His brain had swapped me into the memory, maybe because he associated me with good times. It was a weird 2 weeks, but I'm relieved. Tom's not lying or crazy, just human. We're stronger now, painting together to make new memories. But I can't shake the fear of how easily a false memory almost broke us.
Story number 9, Brother's Cruel Mockery.
I'm 15, and this week has been the worst of my life. My dog, Romeo, died unexpectedly. He wasn't just a pet, he was my best friend since I was 3. We grew up together, from backyard adventures to late-night cuddles. Losing him felt like losing a piece of my heart. I didn't expect it to hit me this hard, but I've been a mess, crying over old photos and videos. My older brother, 20, is the opposite of me. He's the stereotypical, tough guy, popular, confident, like a character from a teen movie. We've never been close. He thinks I'm too sensitive, and I think he's kind of a jerk. But I figured even he'd get how much Romeo meant to me. I mean, he's seen me with Romeo my whole life. Surely he'd show some empathy, right? Wrong. Yesterday, I was in the living room, scrolling through photos of Romeo, tears streaming down my face. I thought I was alone. Then my brother walked in, saw me crying, and started laughing, a cruel, mocking laugh, like a cartoon villain. "You're really crying over a dog," he sneered. "Man up, it's just an animal." I tried to ignore him, asking him to stop, but that only egged him on. He kept going, saying I'd probably hold a funeral for Romeo and fake crying to mimic me. It was humiliating. Something in me snapped. I was hurt, angry, and fed up with his cruelty. I remembered how he's been moping since his girlfriend of 2 years cheated on him and dumped him. He's been blasting sad breakup songs, whining to anyone who'll listen. So, I looked him in the eye and said, "At least my, just an animal, loved me. Your girlfriend didn't, cheating on you like that. My dog died loving me, your girl's still alive and doesn't." His face went red, and he stormed out without a word. Later, my parents heard about it, thanks to him snitching, and said I went too far. They called my words cruel and demanded I apologize. But I don't feel sorry. He mocked me while I was grieving, dismissed my pain, and only stopped when I hit back. I know what I said was harsh, but he started it. If he'd shown a shred of kindness or left me alone, I wouldn't have gone there. Now, my parents are pressuring me to make things right, but why should I? He was the jerk first. I posted online, and the responses were eye-opening. Some said I was wrong to stoop to his level, but most backed me, saying he deserved it for bullying me during my grief. One commenter suggested telling my parents he needs to apologize first, which resonated. I told them how he mocked me, but they said I still shouldn't have brought up his ex. They sympathized but wanted me to be the bigger person. It felt unfair. A day and a half later, something shifted. My brother knocked on my door and gave me a huge hug, the first in years. He apologized, saying he'd been a jerk and realized he'd changed for the worse. I apologized too, for hitting below the belt about his ex. We talked, played FIFA, and bonded like we hadn't in forever. He admitted he's been struggling since the breakup, projecting his pain onto me. We agreed to be better to each other, and he even supported my plan to hold a small funeral for Romeo. This experience taught me a lot. I was right to stand up for myself, but I also learned that sometimes people lash out because they're hurting. My brother's not perfect, but he's trying, and so am I. Romeo's gone, but his memory's pushing us to be better brothers.
Story number 10, Affair and Unexpected Fatherhood.
I'm 26, and my life's been a roller coaster since I had an affair with a married man, David, when I was 22. I met him at a bar, charmed by his confidence and attention. His social media showed kids but no wife, so I assumed he was single. A month in, he admitted he was married but claimed it was just on paper for their kids and business. I was naive, infatuated, and ignored the red flags. David made me feel special, lavish dates, passionate nights. I convinced myself his marriage was over. A year later, I got pregnant. I'd been careless, swept up in lust. I was shocked but excited, dreaming of a family with David. When I told him, his face hardened. He insisted I delete the fetus, offering to pay for an abortion and a fancy weekend to make it special. His coldness crushed me. He said another child would ruin his facade of a happy marriage. Devastated, I agreed to go out of town for the procedure. But the night he was to pick me up, fear took over. I couldn't do it. I packed a bag, checked into a hotel, and texted him I'd never contact him again if he left me alone. He tried sweet-talking me, then turned nasty, threatening me if I named him as the father. I moved hundreds of miles away to my family. Now, I have a thriving 2-year-old son. It's been tough as a single mom, but we're managing. I kept my promise, no child support, no paternity claims. Then, a few months ago, David's wife, now ex-wife, messaged me on social media. She said they'd divorced 6 months prior and wanted our kids to know each other. Her teens meeting my toddler felt odd, so I hesitated. After posting online, I decided to video chat her to apologize for the affair. She was gracious, revealing David's serial infidelity. My son was the final straw for her divorce. She forgave me, blaming him, but then dropped a bombshell. David had been in a bad accident and wanted to meet our son. I was uneasy. Was she his messenger? Why not contact me himself? I deleted my social media, spooked. Then, a handwritten letter from David arrived, expressing regret and a desire to be a father. He asked for a paternity affidavit. I refused, wary after his threats. My parents urged me to get a lawyer. A court ordered a paternity test, confirming what I knew. Now, David's pushing for visitation, and I'm scared. He's wealthier, with connections, living states away. I feel like a bad mom for bringing my son into this mess. David showed up unannounced at my house, insisting we talk. I felt a flicker of old attraction, which disgusted me. He apologized, saying he just wants to be a dad, but I don't trust him. Mediation set supervised visits for 6 months, with me present. He's met our son twice, but my shy toddler barely engages. David's patient but suggested preschool, implying I'm overprotective. He introduced himself as dad, ignoring my request to ease into it. Child support's ordered, but he sent a check I returned, fearing strings attached. He keeps texting outside our parenting app, pushing for visits to his state or changing my son's last name. He's offered to pay my debts, which I refused. His charm's fading, revealing the manipulative man I fled. Recently, he took us on a Polar Express train ride. It was fun, but he ruined it, confessing he still loves me. I shut it down, but he accused me of selfishness, saying I'm denying our son a father. I'm cooperating, but his pushiness makes me doubt his intentions. I just want to protect my son while ensuring he has a dad, if David proves trustworthy.
Story number 11, High School Harassment Drama.
I'm a 45-year-old dad, caught in a whirlwind of high school drama I never expected to deal with at my age. My wife, 41, and I have a daughter, 17, and a son, 15. Her best friend, 40, moved to our town 6 years ago with her 2 daughters, 18 and 15. The moms have been subtly pushing for our 15-year-olds to date, which I've always found creepy. My son, a kind but firm kid, has no interest in her daughter, despite her persistent crush. For 2 years, this girl has pursued him relentlessly. He's politely turned her down every time, but she wouldn't stop. Last summer, she asked him to a couple's dinner for her sister's 18th birthday. He agreed to go as friends, clarifying it was a one-time thing. They watched 10 Things I Hate About You, and he mentioned liking Heath Ledger's singing scene. I thought it was harmless. The real drama hit a month ago. At school, she staged a dramatic song and dance routine, reenacting the movie's scene, and asked him to be her date to my business partner's annual Halloween party. Frustrated after years of rejection, my son loudly said he wasn't interested, in front of classmates. Some laughed, and she ran off crying. Since then, she's faced bullying, and her mom's furious, demanding an apology. My wife agreed, saying he should at least defend her against bullies. I backed my son, who feels her pursuit is harassment. He's been clear for years, and it's not his job to fix her mistakes. Tensions escalated when another girl, one the friend's daughter dislikes, asked my son to the Halloween party. He said yes, planning a creative couple's costume. My wife called it disrespectful and refused to attend the party, accusing me of raising a cruel son. I drove him and his date myself, believing he shouldn't be punished for setting boundaries. The party was a hit, but the aftermath wasn't. The bullying at school worsened, splitting girls into factions. My son's been accused of cheating, but his friends know the truth, and he's unbothered. The school called us in, labeling my son the source of the drama and urging him to defend the girl. He refused, detailing her 2-year harassment. We agreed he'd compile a list of incidents. When my wife read it, she broke down, apologizing for not seeing the extent of the girl's behavior. She shared the list with her friend, who doubled down, refusing to acknowledge her daughter's actions. My wife went low contact with her. The school, a private one with strict rules, is considering disciplining the girl. I took my son out for a day to bond, proud of his strength. My wife's writing a letter, per our family's tradition, to address her wrongs and rebuild trust. The girl's father, who agrees with me, told his daughter to back off, but her mom's still pushing for an apology. Recently, the girl switched to public school after apologizing to my son via email. He accepted but wants distance. Family counseling's helping us move forward, and the school's calming down. This ordeal showed me how harassment can be dismissed when it's a girl pursuing a boy. I'm proud of my son for standing up for himself and grateful my wife came around. It's a reminder to listen to kids when they set boundaries, no matter how dramatic it seems.
Story number 12, Vegan House Rules Betrayal.
I'm 37, and a recent trip to my friend Kevin's house turned into a friendship-ending disaster. Kevin, 36, and his wife, Karen, 35, moved states away last year. We were part of a tight-knit friend group from an old job, but Karen rarely joined us, even when invited. They're vegan, Karen strictly so, Kevin less rigidly, eating fish he prepares in a separate mini-kitchen. Karen's outspoken about veganism, calling non-vegan food garbage and meat eaters murderers. It's annoying, but I never confronted her. In November, I visited their new home with another couple from our group, who stayed with family. Karen sent me a list of food rules, no non-vegan food in their kitchen, but I could bring milk for their fish fridge. I'm not vegan, so I packed non-vegan protein snacks in a zippered bag in my suitcase, assuming it was fine since it wasn't in a kitchen. The food at their house tasted off, waffles, tuna casserole, everything. I figured it was vegan ingredients, new to me. I ate sparingly, relying on my snacks and street food from a market we visited. Days before my husband and I were to visit again, Karen called. She banned milk and snacks, revealing she'd gone through my suitcase during my last visit and found my snacks. Worse, she admitted to swapping my milk with almond milk, thinking it was hilarious. I couldn't tell. Kevin knew but didn't tell me, using the almond milk in the casserole and waffles. I was furious. If I'd been allergic to almonds, I could have been seriously ill. I hung up, too angry to respond calmly. Later, I called back, demanding to know why she violated my privacy. She claimed it was her house, her rules, and she had a right to check my belongings. She said no one can tell cow's milk from almond milk, so it was no big deal. I lost it, calling her a controlling freak and revealing Kevin's secret cheese stash in the fish fridge. She hung up. Kevin sided with her, saying I crossed a line by bringing milk and ordering meat at a restaurant. I told him our lives were diverging, ending the friendship. I posted online, torn about my role. Commenters were outraged, saying Karen's actions were unacceptable, especially the suitcase search and milk swap. Some urged me to give Kevin a chance to apologize. I reached out to our friend group, learning I was the only one still close with Kevin. The others visited that weekend only because I was there. It hit me, Kevin enabled Karen's behavior, dodging my concerns about the suitcase violation. I called Kevin, listing my grievances, the suitcase search, the milk swap, and their obsession with my food choices. He apologized only for criticizing my restaurant order, saying I didn't deserve apologies since I broke rules by bringing a meat stick, leftover from my drive. He admitted Karen told him not to reveal the milk swap, wanting to prove I couldn't taste the difference. When I mentioned his cheese stash, he said Karen unplugged his fish fridge, ruining his food, and blamed me. I asked if he truly thought I owed no apology. He said yes. I told him to call when he grew a spine and hung up. Reflecting, I realized I'd ignored red flags about Karen's control and Kevin's complicity. I canceled my credit card, worried Karen might have seen it in my bag. My husband thinks I'm better off without them. I'm grateful for the reality check from strangers online. It hurts to lose a friend, but I'm done with their toxic dynamic.